3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome back to the Quality Antics podcast. My name is Dave, and on this week's episode, we catch up with Marchand. He is one of my mentors. He's an amazing cinematographer, a great guy, and we spin some yarns about some interesting topics. Let's get straight into it. Welcome, Mark, to this episode of Quality Antics podcast. How you going? Quickly, we'll start with who you are and what you're up to.
Okay, thanks Dave. My name's Marchand, and I am a local filmmaker and cinematographer. That would be my speciality, and I do a lot of work in the commercial realm, so TV commercials, web commercials, documentaries, getting more into short films and hopefully features one day soon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, a really quick history on Mark and our relationship. I went to school with Mark.
It's a deep relationship.
Yeah, I went to school with Mark at Lincoln High School, and we were good mates back then. And then as I kind of branched off and did my own other thing in the world and then came back to video content creation, I knew Mark was dominating that space and doing some cool things, and he was making wedding films at the
dominating.
time.
Thanks.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's probably a cool person to reach out to. So then we kind of caught up again, and since then, when I started making videos, we've just caught up every few weeks and over coffee and just spun yarns about video life and all that sort of good stuff. It's been cool. So I thought I'd have you on the podcast just to have a bit of a yarn.
I remember that first time you reached out. I just got back from LA, and you were dreaming big. Yeah, and so we caught up to talk about how that might work, and things have changed a lot since then, but you've certainly kept to that trail. So
I wonder what I was dreaming back then. Listen to Mark. I just got back from shooting in LA.
I wasn't shooting in LA, it was actually a holiday, but
sounded cool.
Just got back from Hollywood.
Yeah, no. That sounded cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of the kind of projects, can you get, without naming names of who you've been working with, what kind of work do you do? Like, you're not shooting for Bob's vegetable store down the road. What kind of clients do you work with?
I've got a good mix of clients. So I do a lot of work with advertising agencies. So some of the big ones around Christchurch and some of the boutique ones as well. So those are quite cool because that's when I get to work with bigger clients. So I do a lot of work in the dairy industry. I've done stuff for supermarkets. And so working with an agency, they kind of control the brief, and I just get to come in and do what I'm really good at, which is shooting, editing, focus on that, and I don't have to focus on the client management. But I still do a lot of stuff where I am working direct with the client as well. And so one of my clients is Canterbury University, and I do a lot of stuff with them in the engineering and science departments, and that's kind of smaller stuff. But I get to kind of see that every step of the way, so I get a good mix with that.
Nice. Yeah. Now you're like you went to university and got a bit of training in this sort of thing. Not like me. I'm just like a cowboy.
Yeah, so
how was that process?
A wee bit different. It wasn't uni. I went to what was called a CPRT at the time.
Sorry.
Polytechnic.
Yep.
I went in straight out of high school wanting to be a designer. So I studied the Bachelor of Visual Communication. So Bachelor of Arts, Visual Communication and Design. Through that, I did a lot of photography. That was kind of one of my heavy focuses with that. So got formal training with actually shooting in a dark room, shooting on film, shooting in studio.
Oh, wow.
And then transitioning into digital, which is a whole lot of fun. And it was through that when kind of cameras started to do, stills photo cameras started to do really good video. So we had the 5D Mark II, I think it was. And all of a sudden we could get this really beautiful cinematic large sensor image out of an affordable camera. Because at the time, if you wanted that look for video, you'd be looking at 50, 60 grand for an ARRI or a Red or something like that. Actually, Reds back then weren't even that good. So I started to play with that, really fell in love with motion image and capturing that, and made a career out of that. So as soon as I graduated, I stayed on and completed my studies. So I didn't see the point in dropping out, and all those skills were really useful. So finished, graduated, and then started just freelancing, and started the ball rolling, started to snowball, started to get more and more credibility, more skills as I worked and practiced within that. So
Nice.
yeah.
Did you think CPIT or ARA now, did they prepare you? Because I know with my studies, I felt like, yeah, you get some of the practical skills, but then there's the other side of like a freelance world, which is business and marketing and networking and all that sort of jazz. How was that road for you? Was it like a straightforward, this was easy? Or
I don't think any institution really prepares you for that, and I think they're starting to cotton on to that now. And so there's like a new course available at Canterbury Uni called Product Design, and it's engineering based, but it gets a good mix of like the design and marketing skills, the business skills, and also the technical engineering skills. So these guys go through and create a product, but they learn all the other things that they need to actually make a successful product. So how to actually market that to your audience and all that. And so you're starting to see these courses come up now, which I think is really cool, because I wouldn't say I was prepared for the business world at all from what I did, but what I was doing was a little out of the box from what everyone else was doing when they went through there. So I think with institutional learning like that, the best thing to get out of it is actually your networks. And that was probably the strongest thing for me. So all my mates through study went on to work at different agencies, and so all of a sudden I had a foot in the door with all of those places, and that's how I got a lot of that initial work. And then beyond that, you just let the work speak for itself, and you just take each step, and each step higher and to cooler stuff. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. Cool. At the same time, all those design skills I learnt kind of tie into, because I'm working in that same industry, albeit like a different niche within that, but having that understanding of visual communication and communicating that sort of stuff with clients, I think has been really helpful also.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can you think back to what was your first like paid gig for anything creative in that sort of space? Could have been design, might have been a video, might have been some photography work. Like, how did that go? Can you remember that?
First time dealing with clients, fun time. I did some paid work through Polytech while I was studying, and that was design stuff. Me and one of my good friends, Matt, we used to find all these jobs on Student Job Search, and I found one that was basically what we would call a Mac monkey job. So where you're sitting on a Mac and you're just inputting data, laying out the design. So I did that for I can't remember what the company's called, but they make like mathematics learning resources for high schoolers. And so it's kind of like quickfire cue cards with equations and stuff. And so I had to go through and input all that data in a designed way. So they'd have all the equations, I'd make it look nice on the cards. And that was so boring. But it paid well, and it kind of topped me up while I was studying. So it'd probably be one of the first, I think. Yeah.
But I guess, you're from a different path than me. Like, when I was getting paid for doing something creative, I guess that wasn't the most enjoyable job, but I was like, yes, this is so flipping cool. When was the moment when you're like, oh, this is what I want to do? Like, and you had what was that kind of job? Because it doesn't sound like that maths job was that fun, but you were using some of the skills that you'd learned. When was it when you found, maybe it was the first video job, or it could have been diving into the wedding space, which we'll talk to soon.
Yep.
Was there a moment where you're like, oh yes, I'm so glad that I studied this is so much fun, or a job that you're like, when was your moment that you're like, yes, I'm doing this for the rest of my life?
I guess that job I was just talking about wasn't really creative at all.
Yeah.
So that's why it didn't really tick my boxes. Although part of that I got to, when they had the complete product, I got to photograph all that, and so do like studio photography of the product and play around with that, and that was good fun. I enjoyed that. So your question was...
Like, was there a moment there when it was maybe it could have been one of your earlier video jobs where you're like, I got paid from that? That was absolutely a blast.
Yeah, I guess all those moments come in hindsight. Like, in the moment, you're just so focused on the job.
Yeah.
That it's when you think about it after you see the finished product, and once you've kind of forgotten about... You've forgotten about that, and you come back and view it again, and you're like, actually, that was really cool. You forget about all the negative things and the stressful things on while you were shooting it, and then you go, actually, I'm watching this a year later and I still think it looks really good, and I'm really pleased with that. That doesn't really answer your question, but
that's all good. If there's no moment, there's no moment.
Yeah, I'd find it hard to pinpoint something. I guess actually, so shortly after I graduated, it probably wasn't shortly after, I worked in retail, and I was freelancing outside of that, so kind of part-time. And I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here. That's fine.
Let's do this.
This is a bit of a history. And as we were talking about before, like the business stuff, I had no idea how to set aside money for accounting and what sort of percentages to do, how GST worked. I was GST registered, and I'd kind of just put little portions aside, but I never had enough. So every time I did the accounts, it was like stressful. But after, I think about a year and a half, I teamed up with two friends of mine, and we started a company called M3 Creative, and it was three of us, so doing commercial film, wedding film, commercial photography, and wedding photography. So it was a good kind of mix. And they're a bit older than I, and they'd both worked in businesses before, and so that was what really kind of trained me up for how to operate my own business.
Cool.
We did that for 5 years, operated that very successfully, and I guess probably one of the coolest times was when we first joined together. We were all still working part-time jobs, and then supplementing our incomes with our freelance stuff, with the goal of transitioning into full-time. And so the first time we got the campaign work for Canterbury University, so this is their central marketing, and I think it was something like 15 videos that each focus on different schools within the university and different experiences. That was one of those big jobs where I was like, oh, this is awesome, this is what I totally want to be doing. And it was so much work that we went full-time straight after that, because it kind of snowballed into more stuff. So,
yeah. Wow, for sure. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you did mention briefly about the how part of you three working together was wedding photography and videography.
Yep.
Are you still shooting weddings?
I am not shooting weddings. I've officially retired.
Wow.
Officially, I think. Yes. I shot my last one about 2 months ago. But I did them for, I think it was about 5 years. And I definitely don't regret doing them. I learned a hell of a lot. I learned how to be really efficient with my shooting. With a wedding, it's kind of a documentary style, and you've got one shot. So you basically learn pretty quick how to adapt and follow what's happening, make sure you're building sequences that can be edited together really well, so you're not just willy-nilly capturing footage, but you're envisaging the edit as you go. So I learned how to do all that, so I think it made me much more efficient as a shooter, also as an editor. And yeah, the reason I gave up on them was we were doing about kind of 20 to 30 a year, so mostly through summer. That's kind of every weekend, sometimes 2 or 3 a weekend. That was pretty much my life gone. And so you'd be doing that every weekend, and I found that when it came to trying to pull off my own personal projects, are the things that really made me tick. I just didn't have the desire to do it anymore because I'd spent all that energy shooting weddings, and made the tough call to leave that side, which was hard because it's good money, good bread and butter. We'd built a really good name for ourselves as well. And so the best way to do that was we dissolved. So we still work together on various things. We just don't operate the company together anymore. So I operate as a freelance cameraman, editor, and yeah, I guess that's about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Were there any hairy moments? I'm probably, I don't know, half a dozen-ish weddings into my wedding videography career, if I'm even going to go down that path. I'm kind of just dabbling in everything and seeing what I enjoy. But were there any moments with you where you're like, oh my Lord, this is so overexposed, or like a couple of times I've hit record when my record sequence is like gone out. So I'm recording when I'm walking on and it's pointing at the ground.
Yep.
Then I go up to take a shot, and then I stop recording, and then I start recording again when I'm like, and luckily it's been random moments that haven't mattered. But I'm like, have you ever had any when you're like, oh, what are we going to do here?
That still happens today, like even with like my big cinema camera, and it happened to me recently. I was on a job and with a director, and I was just walking around getting some B-roll, and luckily on my camera on the viewfinder it's got a tally light on the front, and so he saw me like walking between shots and it was red, and he's like and so I hadn't even noticed. In the stress of the moment, you're just kind of like walking around, hit record, and it maybe doesn't work, and so you hit stop, and then it starts recording when you're walking around. Luckily it was literally just happened 5 seconds before he pointed it out, so it hadn't affected anything beforehand. But that still happens, but I guess you just get more onto looking out for that stuff. Yeah, so with weddings, definitely had a few hairy moments, and most of the time it revolves around audio.
That's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, so we were offering weddings where it's kind of like complete coverage. We would be shooting up to like 5 or 6 cameras, always with 2 people, never shooting on our own. So you have that full coverage, and we would do like live multicam edits of the ceremony and the speeches, and then we'd put together like a beautiful highlights with all the really cinematic stuff, and then using audio parts from the day. Maybe their vows or something really nice in the speech to tell a story. And so it wasn't like a linear edit of getting ready, getting married, going for photos, cutting the cake. And what was I saying with that? I can't remember.
You're recording
audio.
A gazillion cameras.
Yeah, gazillion
audio,
cameras and audio. So you're managing all this data, and you're managing getting everything set up. And so you'd be an absolute sweaty mess because you got 5 minutes to set up 5 cameras and check audio, make sure it's clear, because not all the time you can monitor that. Sometimes you just have to set and forget. I had one wedding where I took my audio recorder, forgot to take headphones, plugged it into the PA at the speeches in the reception, and I could see that I was getting a flickering level, so I thought that must be okay. Didn't have headphones, couldn't monitor it. Hit record, got into the edit, and it was just like a fuzzy noise, so it wasn't actually getting the microphone, it was just some gain from the amp, and so there was no audio at all with that. And so I was like, shit, okay, like we're kind of known for our quality audio and storytelling through our weddings, and so all I've got is the scratch audio off the cameras, and luckily all our cameras we'd use the wee Rode shotgun mics, and so that's a lot better than just the nothing. But still echoey in the space, and so I had to send it to our audio guy, and he did what he could to like clean it up a wee bit. There's only so much you can do with shit audio. But he made it a little bit better, so and the couple didn't seem to care, so it was fine. I haven't really had any like major F-ups that have like caused the couple to be pissed off. Not that I can think of. No.
Oh, good.
Which is good.
No, man, this is giving me...
But it's
I'm
just always
sweating
stressful.
just thinking about
it.
it.
Yeah, it's not fun. But you learn from those mistakes, and I think the best thing you can do is have in your contract that a wedding is a live thing. There's no reshoots, and there's only so much we can do when things go wrong. We do our best to make sure we can make the best of any situation, but at the end of the day, if something goes really wrong technically, like...
Sorry.
Nothing we can do.
That's the way to go.
We'll do our best to refund some. But you just got to cover yourself. Yeah.
Nice. Right, let's jump straight into the hat. Let's grab some questions or topics from the hat. I'll let you start first.
So am I asking you?
Well, I don't know half the question, most of the questions, so we're both answering it. Here we go.
Audio of the paper.
The rustle. Okay.
This is a deep question.
No, okay. What is it?
Coke or Pepsi? And why?
Good question. This is one of those life questions that you just need to answer. Well, my gut's just telling me Coke, but I think that could just be purely based on branding and like what the societal norms are telling me. I feel like Coke seems to be the cooler brand out of those two for some reason, but
cool, even with that Kendall Jenner ad. Oh no, that was Pepsi.
Oh, was it? Yeah, it was. Yeah,
damn.
Yeah, that's knocking them down. No, I don't drink Coke at all. Yeah, like plain Coke, but Diet Coke, yeah, definitely. So for me, it's Coke, mate. What about you?
Yeah, I don't really drink any of that stuff anymore.
Ooh, good man.
Which is good, and when I go back to drinking it, I just feel rough, eh? But to be honest, I prefer Pepsi. I'm not sure why. Probably sweeter, sugarier. I don't know.
We have a better one in our hands. One Coke, one Pepsi.
So like KFC always had Pepsi back in the day, and now they have Coke. And then it's like, I remember when they switched, and then they're like, "What drink?" And I'm like, "Pepsi." And I'm like, "They don't have it."
You're like, "No." What a great cup. Oh, let's jam one more. That was deep. I'll pick this bad boy. Okay. Oh wow, really deep questions today. Okay, is alcohol good or bad?
Was this one that you just wrote?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mark and I wrote some before we started because we were like, we want to have plenty of options in the bucket.
I've got a great one in there that I can't wait to listen to when someone opens it.
Alcohol. What are your thoughts? Good, bad?
Well, I love alcohol, so I think alcohol is good, but Cool and good. That came out as ghoul. Alcohol is good, but it is also bad. I guess with everything like that in moderation. So
Okay.
I like
Responsible answer.
Yeah, I like to have an odd beer here and there. I am a big fan of whiskey, and so actually had a few drams with my father last night, which was good
Oh,
fun.
lovely.
But yeah, like if you have too much of that, and the next day's not so good, and if you form a reliance on it, then you've got an addiction, and not good for relationships, families, finances. Yeah, so there's a deep answer for you.
Yeah. No, fair enough. And my answer, I openly think I hate alcohol,
Okay.
but I also like it. So it's like I really despise everything about it. Like, because the whole drugs debate, and everyone's talking about, like, let's say marijuana now, and all of a sudden there's all these people online saying, "Hey, look, why are we thrashing this out so bad when alcohol just seems to be like over in this corner, like, don't look at me, like I'm good," because
Lobbyists.
the lobbyists and the powers that be, and all the stuff that goes into it, and like having alcohol in supermarkets and normalising it all, and the New Zealand culture and binge drinking and all that sort of stuff. Like, I hate that, but I do enjoy like sitting down with a few friends, like you were saying, and having a few drinks, and yeah. Socially, I'm terrible in a party environment if I'm the sober driver, which I
You a
which I often
binger, are
am.
you?
No, but I'm just like, this sucks when you're
Yeah.
sitting around sober,
Yeah.
and everyone in the group, or lots of people just like acting stupid drunk. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I flipping hate that. It's the worst.
Yeah, I've never been much of a party goer, and never been into clubs and stuff. My ideal night out is down at the pub with a few friends.
Yeah, cool.
After football, go and have some beers. I love that.
Nice. Yeah.
But I guess, as I said before, everything in moderation. Same with like chicken tastes awesome, but if I had a bucket of KFC every day, it's not good.
This episode is not sponsored by flipping KFC.
No,
we're
it's
bringing
not.
it up again.
Oh, we'll bring it back to Coke and Pepsi. You have it too much, it's not good for you. So yeah.
Nice, love it. What else did I want to say about that? That's gold.
Don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you about the whole club culture. Like, when I was a bit younger, clubs were like, I remember being like, man, this was so much fun, like getting out there and preloading and doing all that sort of bad stuff. But then, nowadays, that's what I want to say. I really want to watch the documentary on Netflix about the truth about alcohol, I think it's called.
Okay.
Because I partially want to watch it because I want to know, because I know it's going to be bad, but also I'm like, I don't want to watch it because then it might put me off. But I don't know.
I think all those ones kind of make you think in the moment, and then you're like, yes, I'm going to change my life.
Yeah.
And then a week later, you're like, eh.
Yeah. But I'm doing the no beer year.
Is that part of shredding for the wedding? Because it's a good thing. I did 7 months of alcohol free, actually, when I was in LA, which was really tough because we went to this really cool like saloon in the middle of Joshua Tree. So it's in the desert, and it's like really famous, like known for Jimmy Page goes there sometimes from Led Zeppelin, and he'll just like get up and have a jam with the band. And so I'm in this cool saloon and sitting at the bar, and I'm like, I'll have a root beer, thanks. Just wanted to have like an American beer. It's tough, but I think you feel better for it.
Yeah. See, I'm not even, I can't even say I'm alcohol free. Like I start of this year, for those people who don't know, start of this year I was up in Tochanui in the Old Tasman, and I was like, stuff it. And I was sitting there drinking double browns. It's probably why it put me off, like really cheap, nasty beers. And I was just like, I don't even really enjoy that this much. Like, it's just the norm to sit down with friends and have a beer. And the amount of times I've been at a friend's place and they've said, hey, do you want a beer? And I'm like, yeah, sure. But then afterwards I'm like, I don't even enjoy that. So I thought stuff it this year. It'll be a good incentive. In those random moments, there'll be times when I'll say no because of this no beer year thing, and there won't be tequila or rum nearby, so I won't have anything, and that'll be good. But I've just been like, a night out or something, I might have a couple of rums or something else.
Nice.
And people are like, there's no point in saying no to beer, but I still think stuff it.
It's just no to shitty beer.
And
I kind of have that rule. Like, we'd always have beer in the office, and so.
Ew, no, is it not? Is it are you like, is it a Spates? Oh, no, thank you.
Well, my kind of thinking on it is, I'm a big fan of craft beer, and call me cliche, but I really enjoy the flavors. I love a pale ale, and I like trying, and this kind of feeds into my love for whiskey. I love trying the different flavors and the experimentations with that, and So rather than just having a beer for beer's sake, like because it's in the fridge, if it's a double brown, I'll be like, well, I'm not actually going to enjoy that, so why drink it?
So do you go to the beer fest and do you enjoy that sort of environment?
I didn't go this year, but I do normally go.
You like it? Yeah. Yeah.
Has it been this year or was it last year? Frick, I can't remember.
No, it's been this year. Yeah.
March. Yeah, you did a video.
Yeah, I made a video of it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but if you were into that sort of thing. Like,
I love it. Because you get to try all the experimental ones. They bring, like Garage Project did this epic one a couple of years ago called the Bastard Rye. Yeah. It was like 16%. It was like aged in barrels for 3 years. It was amazing. It's not something you'd have every day. And I think they released a limited bottling of it where you could get a 750ml bottle and it was $75 for a beer. I'm not going to buy that, but got to try that at Beer Fest. It was good.
Yeah. Oh, wicked.
I go to Dram Fest as well. That's every 2 years.
What's that?
The Whiskey Festival.
Where? In Christchurch?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, it's run by Whiskey Galore.
Oh, yeah. They would want to create something like that.
Yeah, it's good.
Pretty much every guest on the Quality Antics podcast, we kind of discuss the future of Christchurch because most of the guests, well, every guest so far, but I'm going to interview some people that aren't from Christchurch, but I want to hear your take on where we're headed, where you'd like us to head in terms of the city and could be in terms of creatives in that space, or it could just really be anything. What you could make some picks on which suburbs you think are going to be the hot new property or which ones are going to die out. I don't know.
I'm going to call it now. Phillipstown. It's the new suburb of the future.
Oh, okay.
Not just because I live there.
Definitely. Why?
Well,
why? What do you think?
It's so close to the city. It's the most affordable place to buy at the moment. Walking distance, right on the eastern outskirt of the CBD. Lots of character there. It's nowhere near as bad as it used to be 15, 20 years ago. And I mean, for couples like myself and my wife, first home buyers, we couldn't really afford anywhere else. We wanted to be close to the city. We found a place, the one that we bought, fell in love with it, and I really enjoy the place. So I think it might be the new Ponsonby Central.
Ooh, lovely. No. What about the central city? I know you just said you're right on the edge of it. Yep. Do you think the plans, have you been involved in that whole process, been like, oh, I want to see what they're doing with the city, or you just like, whatever will be? And
I've seen bits and pieces. I haven't taken part in any of the
consultation-y process.
No, they were pitching for people to put in their ideas and stuff, and I never got involved with that. But I really love Christchurch. I've been biking a lot this year. Me and Gemma, we go on little weekend rides through the city, and we just explore different pockets. And so all the cycle lanes, which everyone loves to hate, are actually awesome.
Ideal if you're a cyclist.
Yeah. They're freaking awesome. You can confidently ride without the fear of being taken out by a door. Or someone turning obliviously. So it's very cool. I think the CBD lends itself beautifully for pedestrians. It's not a big CBD, so you can actually walk corner to corner relatively quickly. And you look at other cities around the world who have kind of flat cities like this, they just are perfect for cycling and walking around in. But as Cantabrians, we're just so used to our cars, and so everyone loves to hate
the idea of walking 2 blocks. Like, ooh, no thanks. Yeah.
And I guess I came from that same thought process as well until I started biking, and I was like, this is awesome. And it's a cool city. I just love exploring all the little cobblestone highways that they're doing, basketball courts, getting some beautiful sunsets at the moment.
Yeah, I saw those on the gram.
Yeah, man, we just biked down, water basketball, and went and shot some hoops. It was wicked. Cool bars, cool eats. It's a good city. So one of my gripes with a central city thing at the moment is the cathedral. There was this epic kind of planned pitch where they just turned it into like a living ruin. So they made it safe. The plan was to make it safe and just let gardens grow through it. And so turning it into like you'd see in Athens, where they've had a ruin, but they've kind of preserved it and it becomes a tourist attraction. I would have thought that would be amazing, mix of garden city and this heritage building, but also just kind of highlighting what's happened here. We had an earthquake, it's happened, and here's this epic monument to remember that. Yeah. But now they're going to rebuild it, so, which is fine. But I thought that other plan was the bee's knees. Yeah.
So you think that everything back to normal, it's a hide, was you're thinking we had an earthquake. Let's
Yeah,
like
it's
remember
part of our
that,
history.
and that's part of
Yeah.
like leave that as it was. And okay,
Yeah.
I see.
We have like a really unique opportunity to make a cool city, and I'm really liking how it's working out at the moment. It's not going to be a quick thing because we're a small population. It's not like Japan where they can do it in a few weeks because they've got millions of people. We've got, what's Christchurch population? It's like 350,000 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's small. So it's going to take time, and I'm all for that. I've lived here my whole life. We're actually moving away this year to Sydney for a couple of years, but we will always come back, and I look forward to seeing what it's like.
So he's skipping out the hard graft years where everything's not really established. And Mark will be back in the city when it's...
No, I've stuck through. I've
I'm just rooting you out.
gone and spent my money in town and tried to help businesses as much as I can.
Cool.
Yeah, but as I say, it's hard when you've got a small population. Like, we've got more cafes than we have people. So you get all these businesses starting up, and I think that's really tough because they start up with this cool idea and it might be somewhat unique, but it dies because we don't have the population to be serviced by it.
Yeah. Hey, I want to pick your brain really quickly about social media.
Yep.
As not like a content creator, you're like a full-fledged filmmaker and cinematographer, and you've got the big gears and the nice, beautiful camera. What are your thoughts on the concept that people can literally pick up a phone and document their day on Snapchat or Instagram, or use Facebook to connect, and where do you see the future of that in terms of your industry, and do you use them, or all that sorts of things?
Yep, I use social media a lot. I'm probably more of a browser than a poster. I try to post as much as I can. There's a ding.
Notification. Yeah.
New follower.
Yeah.
What was I saying? So like the technological advancements of like epic cameras that are affordable, I think is awesome. It's what allowed me into the industry. But it's not about the gear, it's about knowing how to use it. So learning how kind of visual storytelling works, how we read that from a psychological point of view, learning how to kind of tell those stories is the kind of key thing. And you can do that with any camera. There's this really good article I read recently on...
Oh my gosh, I'll shut that up. Hold on.
Yeah. No Film School, which is a website that I follow. They post good podcasts and announce new gear and stuff. And so NAB's just been on. That's like the big thing over in Las Vegas where all the camera manufacturers go. Side note. But they posted this cool article recently, and it was about a professional photographer and an amateur photographer, and the two cameras. So the question was, what's better, a professional photographer with a amateur camera, or an amateur photographer with a professional camera?
Awesome.
And it's really cool because like the results are awesome. And you look at the amateur with the professional gear, and they're nice images, but you look at the professional with the amateur gear, and they're just stunning. So it's all about how you use it. Understanding light, understanding composition. I'm by no way a master, still learning, always trying to actively upskill and be open to learning. So
Nice. Awesome answer, man. Staying humble.
Yeah.
I love, someone, when I was on a job, they said, is it all about, going back and editing? Is that where you make these videos? And I was like, yeah. Like, the way you edit can completely change things.
Yep.
But if you don't have the shots to start with, or if you haven't filmed it in a certain way, or use these certain techniques, then you're stuffed from the get-go. Like, you've got to have that first, and that knowledge. And that's where I've been like winging it, because I'm like YouTube universitying it, whereas you've got a little bit more background than me. But I've just been like, why doesn't that look good? Or why don't those two shots piece together nicely?
Yeah.
And then the more you do a little bit more research, and I talk to you, I'm like, that makes complete sense.
I guess once you understand the basics and the rules around those things, once you have a good understanding of that, you can break it, as is with everything creative, I think. There are rules, and there are kind of things we're wired to perceive the way we read a story based on visuals. So the classic way to set a scene is a wide shot of the scene, and then we just slowly come in, and when we're changing the scene, we slowly come back out. So we start wide, medium, tight, and then medium, wide as we end the scene. So those are the kind of classic conventions, which once you kind of master that, you can then play around and break those rules a wee bit. But if you just kind of throw together stuff haphazardly, it's not really going to work. I had something else I was going to say, and it was...
Well, while he's thinking, just make sure if you're at home or walking the dog, just grab out your pad and a pen. Mark's just dropping some knowledge bombs here.
Knowledge bombs.
What else did you want to say?
I can't remember.
No pressure.
Yeah,
no worries.
Because what was the question originally? It was...
I think we were talking about beer about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, and Pepsi.
Yeah, no, it was about using social media and and as a cinematographer, where do you see that? Is it useful? Or
yep, absolutely.
Are too many people thinking that they're experts like me, just jumping in and being like, oh, hey, I can film stuff, and you're like, no, your stuff's terrible.
No, I mean, you got to start somewhere. Like, I was doing the same sort of stuff when I first started, and it was just navigating that. What I was going to say was, what makes you better as a cinematographer is understanding how to edit. So I've always edited. I would not say it's my strong suit. I can get around it pretty well. I can do a good edit. I don't enjoy it so much, but doing that has enabled me to look at a scene once I've got the footage and go, I wish I had that, or this would be a fantastic shot in this instance. And so I can then, when I'm shooting, have that foresight.
Yeah.
So
whereas if you just shot and then dump the footage to someone else, you'd never know that cycle of like, right, now I need more wide shots. So like an industry like film, and when we're talking like feature films, you've got so many different people and so many different specialities on set. There's no way you can master all of those, but it is definitely worthwhile having a basic understanding of each of those roles. The jack of all trades, so you do know a little bit about everything.
So I'd say my main skill is definitely behind camera shooting. I've got a good understanding of using light, shaping light, and I guess every time I step on a set now, I'm just looking at ways to improve it. That's kind of one of my skills. I like starting with something on the canvas. I'm not so much a blank canvas guy, but I like starting with something and making it better. So analysing it and looking at how we can make that a little bit nicer. How can that pop? How can that tell a better story? So,
Cool. Well, while you're in town for the next wee while, how can people check out your work or reach out to you? Where can they find your stuff?
Get a phone call. I might have to call that one back soon. Someone's trying to get hold of me right now. I'm on Instagram. My username is Mark_Marchand. That is spelled Marchand, and it's pronounced Marchand. It's French. Marchand. It's not Marchand.
Marchand.
But I get that a lot, so I'm used to it. My website is also hard to spell because it's that's my email. www.mark-marchand.com. You can see my portfolio of work there.
Brilliant. Mark's amazing. You should really check out his work.
Cool. Thanks,
thanks for coming by.
Cheers.
Have a good one.
It's a pleasure.
See you. Massive thanks for tuning in for this episode of the Quality Antics podcast. If you want to catch up with us or send us a question for the hat, just hit me up at Quality Antics on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, all of the social pipes. Or send us an email at qualityanticspodcast@gmail.com. Have a good one.